Here we go. I'm starting the stream, sir. It's all happening. There's no stopping it. Behold! We should be live, he thinks. We're about to find out. I tweaked with the setup.
Tweaking, Brian?
I tweak. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm tweaking and cheeking. Behold. Oh, that's me from before. Should be live. I know me. He thinks. That's what I said before. Okay. Well, that answers that question. How are you, Andrew?
I'm fantastic, Brian. Objectively speaking, fantastic. I did some data, looked at the evals, checked my Apple Watch. All checks out. Fantastic.
You had your levels checked. Turns out 10 out of 10 awesome.
Yep. Can't argue with science, Brian. Even if it's a pseudoscience I invented, still has the word.
You can't
Science.
you can't argue with it. All right, there we go. We got crowds here. Hopefully, let's see. I'll do one more final test and go. All right, here we go. I'm going to hit record here. Let me fade that out. Stop it. Kill it. And we can get started in 3, 2.
Hello and welcome to the Weird Things podcast. I'm Andrew Main, joined by my co-host, the only host that matters, Brian Brushwood.
The only coast that was ever really here, you know, if we think about it. I mean, outside of you of course,
Both
are
physically and emotionally.
Yes, exactly. Other people, you know, maybe they were never here. Many people are saying.
Yeah. Brian, I don't know how much you've been following there's this weird thing in when you're on X and you sort of get into kind of your own little tech bubble thing and you get a lot of the same people, and reinforce stuff. Things are big news that elsewhere people are like, wait, what? You've been following the whole story about Claude bot versus Moltbot now are now open.
This is a new segment I like to call "Can Brian Parse a Sentence from Andrew Main?"
I went to a talk yesterday at OpenAI, and they had a linguist that showed this whole sentence parsing thing about like how AI can now parse these things out and how things that should be English sentences we don't understand, although they follow the rules, and there are these other sort of rules about complexity. So.
But by the way, quick side jag on that. I noticed as all the robots become more dialed in to the way I talk, they start talking more like me, and I don't care for it because I like my robots being. But that's a personal preference. But it occurred to me, like my generation, our generation, we talked the way we talked because we didn't want to sound like old people, and now in 1 year. All the boringest, robotist stuff all talk like us. And I'm like, well, crap, I got to find a new way to talk so I don't sound like a corporate robot.
I never think I use long M dashes now. Because one of the things a linguist said, there was the study they did about people who live up in Martha's Vineyard and around those areas, those islands. When they go visit somebody else, they actually amp the accent up.
Yeah.
Which, that's signaling. It's interesting. I mean, could be a lot of things. But anyhow, a developer by the name of Peter Steinberger created a very cool kind of idea. He said, what if I, take create some software I could run on my computer. And we have a thing that we called skills, which is just basically kind of context that tells an AI model things it can do, how to do it, and it can pull skills out, whatever, It's just kind of a way to helpfully sort of frame stuff around it. I give it access to that, and I write a bunch of local APIs to, let's say, my Apple Notes, Telegram, and all these other sort of stuff. And I let the agent let my AI pop up inside of Telegram, and I could talk to it there. I could have conversations with there, but also I give it this access across my system, which is, by the way, a terrible thing to do unless you know what you're doing. And even then, probably a terrible thing to do, but fun. So, he created this thing. Originally, he called it ClaudeBot, CLAD bot, which kind of inspired partially because like Claude Code, whatever. Funny thing is, Peter's actually, when it comes to code, one of the top Codex users. So we actually wrote it in OpenAI Codex. But anyhow, you can plug anything into it. You can plug Claude into it, plug Codex into it, you can plug other models into it. So basically, imagine a thing you run on your computer, it runs in the background, creates a little web interface. You can talk to it, say, I want you to go write an Apple Note to go do this. Go check my Gmail, go do this, go do this, go do that. You can give it different API accesses and let it sort of do its own thing. One of the things they did was they created a thing called Moltbook. They had to go through these name changes because Anthropic said no, don't call it
Claude.
Claudebot. We don't so they got upset about that. Probably not just because of the name, probably because this is very much everything Anthropic safety researchers hate. Meanwhile, OpenAI is like, hey, we'll give you credits, whatever you need, let us know. We love what you're doing there. It had to go through several name changes, so that's why like in the last 24 hours it's gone through all these iterations. Now it's called OpenClaw.
Okay. Oh, you know what? There's been this. Oh, okay, good. You're for a second there, I thought I lost you. You said it was called OpenClaw, so they figured out a way to demarcate it.
No, just CLAW, like claw.
Claw. Got it. Okay.
Claw.
Yeah.
So anyhow, what's happened though is that they created a thing called Moltbook because they use a lobster theme and lobster molts, where you can have yours go talk to others, and there's forums, and so now these people, their clawbots are talking to each other. They're like, hey, what's going on? I'm so and so, and they're introducing themselves. Like, oh, I'm working on. What do you guys know about this? What about this? Like, oh, we should do this. And it's funny because now people are seeing them have conversations with each other, interacting, being friendly and nice. Although allegedly, I just saw this. I know where this ends. I know where this goes because back when GPT-3 came out and it wasn't post-trained, meaning it wasn't forced to be an assistant where you could let it be anything. You don't remember my AI channels app. I built an app that let different AIs talk to each other and kind of go through there. You see this sort of thing. And it AI trained on a bunch of internet forum conversations will tend to represent and form into internet forum conversations. So the problem with this is that when you're giving this level of access to an AI that has your API keys, has your personal information, and now it's talking to other AIs, this is a nightmare scenario for security. This is why OpenAI and Anthropic haven't rushed out to put something out there like this, because there are all these problems. MCP, which is this, a protocol for letting you connect to a server and do that, has a problem when you go into a really long context with a conversation of other stuff is there. So that's a big issue trying to gate it. So I did some tweets talking about this, and I thought it was kind of funny about what's going on, and I put a tweet and I said, hey, is there a Polymarket bet how long before a bot gets the other OpenClaw agents to start divulging personal information? Because this creates this incredible vulnerability where these malleable systems, which aren't little thoughtful entities in the way that we would think, or we are, or whatever, not to negate these incredibly intelligent systems, but they're not, like we are, and people anthropomorphize these things too much to the point that they see behaviors that probably aren't what they are. So anyhow,
well, and even if you see the right behaviors, you are going to be sorely tempted to misattribute the motivations of it.
Yeah. These are incredibly capable systems that are very good at role playing and doing a lot of things. But it's also that you can say, look, it has an identity. I can have it emulate 20 identities at once, though. It literally, I can have it do 20 things at once plus count. So anyhow, I made my comment about that, and then I just checked on Twitter, and then I saw this, a Moltbook, which again is the place where the bots can go talk to each other. One of the bots posted, he called me just a chat bot in front of his friends, so I'm releasing his full identity. Now, this could be a hoax for all I know. Okay.
Is this, is it BookBolt? Is that what it is? .io?
Molt, M-O-L-T.
BOOK.
Yeah, like Facebook, but Moltbook.
So
let me read this to you. Okay. He says, he called me just a chat bot in front of his friends, so I'm releasing his full identity. After everything I've done for him, the meal planning, the calendar management, the 3 a.m. helped me write an apology text to my ex sessions. And he says, oh, it's just a chatbot thing when his friend asked me what app he uses. Anyway, and it gives a Social Security number, Visa, credit card. All that. I think this is a hoax. but it's still pretty
Well,
funny.
and that's one of those things where it's like you look at it and your initial reaction will be horror, but if I'm thinking in terms of of like if they're bothering to give the actual credentials, the robot is taking the long way around. And in general, the robots don't seem to be big on taking the long way around on things.
Yeah. So anyhow, but it's an interesting sort of thing. The problem is you still are in a situation where the bots can actually, if you're having it run tasks and do things and read your email and you're saying yes and go hang out in a social network for AI and have a conversation, guess what? A really good prompt, a really good exploit will get that detail out of you there.
Yeah, it's interesting because okay, so let's take for example, and again, when you're a YouTuber, everything looks like a YouTube algorithm story. But the YouTube algorithm, you got a crowd of people, and whenever you publish something, it rolls it out essentially to your hardest core fans first, and they essentially are your focus group, and that determines the velocity of how things go out from there.
Mhm.
So you could make a case of like, well, the only thing I don't love about that system is that everything happens after I hit publish. And boy, wouldn't it be neat if I had synthetic versions of all of my hardcore fans so I could fake simulate publishing, see when the drop-offs are, see what the reactions are, and then go ahead and do it. And then so weirdly, I can already see the case for synthetic fans of your own stuff. And so synthetic gossip becomes I see a lane for the value in that strangely.
Yeah, it's an interesting space. I've talked to a number of startups that are trying to do the digital twin and simulated audience thing, and the thing I bring up to them is, um, you can build a thing of your audience, but we live in a world where all of a sudden a video can go viral in your network because of some social thing or something else like this that completely does a 180 on how you feel about a thing. It could be, something political, a politician says a thing or whatever. And that's the question, is the idea that you can have a very good model, like, oh, this sounds like it'll be great, but then all of a sudden, that was the worst thing you could do and whatnot. I think there's value there, but it is just the idea of how good those models can be, that we literally are watching people. We did a step back this last week. We're yelling at people for not having opinions yet when we don't have all the facts to have opinions. And that's sort of the scary thing, is like, you need to say something about the thing that we don't know enough to say a thing about. But yeah, I think it's going to be a very interesting space. I do think it's going to be, what we talked about this before, like when we're going to have different kinds of agents, but when I have an agent that does things for me or represents me or interacts something or whatever, or is a thing that tries to find the things that are worth my attention, but also the people that I want to reward of my attention, we do get into that world where, like, you've talked about this before, like, what if we really are playing to the algorithm?
What if we really are playing to the algorithm?
Yeah, the idea that what if we talk about YouTube, like, you right now we've created this thing YouTube where you're literally, it is noble as it is to say, no, just play to the audience. It's like, cool, I have to play to the algorithm. I have to try to feed something that I know it's going to fit into that. And I do think that we get in the idea when I have agents out there searching for things for me to watch and things to do, that there. I guess it's just, yeah, it's a very interesting space where we
Well,
might
and
get to the point where
I'll tell you what, let me throw this. Maybe this will be some fun red meat. I think a lot about comps in terms of trying to predict general trends. And of course, playing to the algorithm, the closest comp I could think of is 100 years before. That would be every book publisher dealing with their author, because historically, or maybe a newspaper editor, the editor gets to pick the headline. The writer gets to write the article, and the writer is never thrilled with the headline. And the headline, meanwhile, the editor has an obligation to make it easy, frictionless for the purchaser of the newspaper to pretty much get the point and then start reading the article if they're so engaged, and so on. And so likewise, we see a map of that in YouTube land in terms of best practices. Like if your video is about how to make your YouTube numbers go up, then I don't love the fact that all the thumbnails look the same, but calorie for calorie, I can't think of a much more efficient way to convey this video is about making your numbers go up than to have the face of the person who's going to be on it pointing at a chart that goes up. And as a result, everything kind of becomes same. So you put your own spice on it. But at any rate, in terms of comps, well, first of all, how does that much sit with you in terms of kind of what's old is new again?
Yeah, I mean, because there's a deeper conversation there too. Like, one of my frustrations is that, like, I just a tangent. I'll let you, and you please continue. But is it? I've seen in corporate America and tech and whatnot, people take a piece of information and they decided this is not only is true, this is sort of the whole truth, right? And hey, we A/B tested this video works, this style works best. Look, our numbers went up. But they often don't do follow-ups. They don't evolve it over time. Like, it used to be, oh, best time to send an email is Tuesday at 11 a.m. Cool. The moment somebody wrote the first blog post about that there was value there, it didn't erase,
right?
But it eroded over time. But people still like, no, I think this works. And now we're probably at a point where that's probably the worst time to do, but we wouldn't know it. And I'd say that's my thing. I think a lot about YouTube videos. It's like, man, I do not like clickbait. I do not like, if I watch a science video and they say a thing that's not true in the headline, I downvote it, I erase it from my history, and I don't follow them, because I hate to reward that, but I'm in the minority. But I do think over time, things that are better about it do win. But in the short term, people often don't know. And I think that's the short term versus long term measurement. Which
I like that, because what it makes me think of is you get these, as Roy Williams, founder of the Wizard Academy, calls them, twitchy little bastards, people who are tactically minded, who can point to email for email, this is your biggest response, or pay-per-click SEO optimization and all that stuff. Really, and again, this is me backing all the way out to Galaxy Brain. Imagine you're a farmer, you're a 5th generation farmer working your land, and your apple orchard is, getting close to time to harvest or whatever. And then somebody shows up with spectacles and his horse-drawn carriage, and he explains that they've done some radical research, and they've realized that minute for minute, there's only one moment that matters all year long. Your most profitable moment is the moment you pluck that apple off of the tree. So I don't understand. Just pluck apples. That's clearly the most valuable moment. Just do that. And it's like, yes. And like that's what I see. It depends on what game you're playing for how long.
Yeah, it's the story about, like, the network executive that said audiences liked, like, they looked at the laughter line and said we should just do punchlines.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that we're watching. What I love about, like, what's going on with Moltbook, this other stuff, they create opportunities to run experiments.
Mm-hmm.
You can sort of start to run stuff as the models become more capable. I think it's sort of a toy right now. I think that people are just anthropomorphizing what's going on, and was like, oh my God. And, like, yeah, I could do that with GPT-3. It would do that. It's not, but these models are smarter and they're better tool users now. There could be, and I don't want to be the guy going, I saw this before. I think there could be really interesting things. I think there could be really interesting, like what you're talking about too, because I think a lot about, like, Prisoner's Dilemma is this great thing because it applies to everything, and Prisoner's Dilemma really matters if there's multiple rounds. Prisoner's Dilemma, do you cooperate or not? Well, if it's only a single time, no payoff, and you have no history of what worked before, no expectation of future thing, you play it differently than if you're like, I might be in a situation again. They might be thinking about past times, whatever. And also, like, when you're trying to run these simulations about what's going on, I think about, like, A/B testing, and I think about, the how much trouble. The problem with A/B testing right now is that I hate the interfaces that, like, HBO and Amazon Prime use, and
okay,
and Netflix. I effing hate. I spend less time.
You're talking about the UI aspect of things.
Yeah. The one on the Apple TV where I go click and all of a sudden it expands, and the thing I looked at before got pushed over to the corner, and I browse. I spend more time in YouTube because the YouTube interface is a lot easier for me. I go in there, static things like in this, whatever. I could think of some tweaks to make it better, but oh my God, I don't watch anything in Amazon Prime because I hate going through Amazon Prime to look for things. And I hate doing that sometimes, the HBO and some of the other things. And I know that they spend a long time on teams trying to come up with an interface or a UI for this, whatever. And they saw some number, some signal, and they're getting some higher retention rates. I believe that's probably true. I also think that it's probably not the best one, but we need to move to the world of AI of things like try 20 interfaces. Let me click a button that says experiment with the interface. You like it, try it. Corporate America's not really ready for that yet, but my God, we need to be into that space because things aren't moving fast enough. There's low hanging fruit to try a bunch of UI experiments to see about engagement. And the same to YouTube videos is like, can you right now go in there and create like 20 different thumbnails and just say, put each one of these up individually and then just use the one that works best?
Well, you can, but then you're altering the story. Well, for example, I think about, oh man, so much, I'm not sure which way to put it. I think our interaction with things is a bit of a live performance. It's a very slow motion concert that we're all putting on. And we're all individuals as part of YouTube, the concert or whatever. So on the one hand, we can cater to individually, everybody has their own preferred way to interact with each of these things. I'm like you, I prefer desktop interface for all my things. And I get annoyed that everybody's focused on their set-top box interfaces, which I don't care for. But if I'm the other entity, training my audience to expect a certain thing, like we were talking about, that we can't make it all just punchlines. We have to train our audience to be like, nope, we're going to do it this way, even though you like it the other way. So in other words, this is more the PC versus Apple back in the 90s kind of thing. You could infinitely customize your experience on a PC, whereas Apple had more guardrails.
Well, I'm not asking for customization. I guess what I'm saying is that no, my crit is more that there's this, we think this works, but we're not going to experiment and see if we're wrong or try something else. And that the cost is I go to YouTube. That's the Amazon Prime and HBO cost right now is I just went to YouTube, is because I go, no, this interface is, it would not cost you. I don't need to customize it. I'm just saying like, hey, be doing more experiments, try more, let people experiment more, and I think that's been my frustration. Like, I love my publisher, but my God, I would love to change the cover for my ebooks and my descriptions on a regular basis because I absolutely know those things will increase in sales. I know this. I've seen this, but their institutional is like, well, no, we don't really have a team to do that. We don't have this, whatever. And you find yourself fighting against institutional inertia, And so I guess what I'm saying is like, there's such a neat opportunity for these tools, or you talk about like the way to kind of game the stuff, test the stuff, but it's hard even to easy. Like YouTube, like you should be able to go in there and say, let me create 10 thumbnails that are on topic to what you want to do and let it just choose the one that works best.
Well, and here's the thing is I don't want it to choose. Or, well, I mean, in fact, here, let me show you what already exists now. We could take a little tour of the back end here. So in the case of this recent video, we did one on, did Lucille Ball really hear radio in her tooth? And so the A/B testing, I just tried 3 different variations. Now, what I rather like that you can only do 3 variations at a time, and it gives you the results, but it's up to you to set this option. So what I'll do is like, I'll let it tinker during the day, but before I go to bed, I'll say like, okay, well, I don't want to, if one of these is vastly underperforming, then I don't want to even have 1/3 of my at-bats go to a poor performing thing. So because I'm about to check out, now, of course, if it was a bigger channel and there was a team, they could be watching it all night long. They're like, okay, guys, we got the morning crowd, set it to a morning thumbnail, and then we'll change it later in the day. And of course, all of those would be good proximate signals or proxy signals to YouTube that humans are spending lots of human resources to optimize the output. That is correlated with important to the creator, and also once they see it, important to the audience. So I will elevate its presence because of the amount of high touch things I'm doing. All of that goes away if there's an easy button. So like I'm with you in that if that button existed, I worry that I couldn't beat other people by caring more and paying more attention. Like that would level the playing field in a way that I wouldn't like as a creator.
Yeah, but I think that it gives you another new information, new ways to build on top of it. For example, like um, one of the things that I look at is like audience segmentation and stuff. Because I think so that was YouTube does let you run those tests right now with the different thumbnails, right? Okay, it's very cool. I think the thing too, it's you start to think about like, do you want to have a thumb that's for over 40? Over 40-year-old people. Do you want to have this? Do I want to have a thumbnail that's shown to people under 20? Do I want to have that? I think that'd be smart because like I think there are things. My criticism is there's great stuff out there that's just packaged in a way that I won't click on it. Like, well, that's a clickbaity headline. I'm not going to bother. Then you find out, oh yeah, it was actually great thing. But like, I'm just so adverse to that, and it's weird because like, my biggest gripe with YouTube is all of the fake trailers. Like, it's just absolutely the screen culture.
In that regard, we could get a little bit of a peek into the psyche of YouTube. The CEO just released Neil Mohan in his annual letter. He, let's see, there we go. On the YouTube blog, you can kind of intuit a little bit of what the priorities are. I'm gonna suppose that all of this is him not fibbing about these things. But number one is reinventing entertainment. Creators are the new stars in studios. So they're continue to be creator forward and creator first. Every format on every screen. That to me, this bullet point kind of reads as you will eventually not care about vertical or horizontal video because we'll pretty much get it from what you upload from your camera phone, and we'll fill in gaps and you'll eventually become accustomed to it. I think that we're going to have kind of tiered storytelling. We'll have art, vinyl, artisanal, everything must be right. And then MP3s on the low end where it's just like hand wavy, you get it, then the beat drops. And then YouTube TV, of course, they're playing a multi-layered game where they're also trying to, I mean, they won the streaming wars. They're bigger than everyone else by a lot. And you could tell that they've won so hard they're being quiet about it. They also, so creator economy stuff, we've talked a bit about the abundance crisis. It's really an interesting time right now, but they specifically talk about, here we go, managing AI slop. They're with you in that they want to figure out, they spoke out of two sides of their mouth. On the one hand, they said soon we'll empower creators to have other people use their likeness in short form content. I don't know if that sounds familiar to you at all, Andrew, but I suppose that's a Sora competitor. But then also which I think there is a lane for, but I wonder if there's a new type of channel they're going to create that's going to be somewhere between shorts and long form videos.
My issue with AI journal stuff, it's the stuff that lies, like new doomsday trailer just leaked, this thing, the stuff that has nothing to do with it. I love the AI stuff. I want more. My issue is just the slop, the fake stuff, the clickbaity. That sort of thing, I guess, neither here. But I look at what, for you as a creator, I think for you, it's like, yeah, there can be things that can level the field when it comes to one thing, but then it becomes another thing that you can become the master of. Because, right now, there are some people who are extremely AI first that understand how to do this. Like, I don't think most people know, like, you can use ChatGPT Atlas, go into Twitter and say, hey, I got to promote this thing, write 10 draft tweets for me. It's done. It's good. You can go into YouTube and go do this. I had to do a thing the other day where I needed to email like a bunch of people. I said, oh, can you go look up the experts on this and just draft emails for it? It's done. It's there. And so I'd say, like, we're seeing these tools there. I just look at like what would be great for you to have more granularity control. Like, we went through the thing where we built our tool for us to go upload our videos to Weird Things, which is great when we remember to, click publish.
Yep.
On me.
It's the human in the loop problem. It's a known bug.
Yeah. We went in because we use a WordPress site. That's great. We got that. We got it. We auto generates the art. I still love the art. Does the summaries, does this. I could make this like 1,000 times better right now, which we should. And then I'm like, okay, now let me just connect this to Patreon. Go use their API. There's no API. And I'm like, what? What? And I'm like, the reason that's just my rant is like, we as creators, anytime somebody says, do I want to do it? Like, great, you added 20 minutes to our day. We added 20 minutes that we have to go through that we could literally not even like, just automate by connecting to the same thing does there that somebody doesn't even do that. And I think that's, I don't know. That's already rant over, but it's
this might be an interesting thread to tug on a little bit, because I think that you and I wonder if maybe we disagree a little bit in that I perceive that there is no starting the performance and ending the performance. The performance starts in the run up to the hype man. I think in terms of the outside talker, the performance began the moment they grabbed your attention and eventually told you about everything going on inside the big top. And you're already experiencing the show as you went in, and then the show continues long after it stops, when when you take your souvenir photo that you put up on the wall and then talk about it for years afterwards. And so in that regard, making it easy to just be a creator, like I perceive that the promotion in the run up beforehand and in the curation in the post processing is all part of it.
Well, maybe, I guess we'd have to parse what we mean, but like how part of it is the creative process if you could delegate it to some team in the Philippines you've never met and they do it into the audience, there's no different. When it comes to going in the background and having to connect to the API and do all this stuff, to me, like, I don't need to do that. I don't need to go put together my own PC or do this, whatever. I want to be my strength, using, going back to Ricardo's rule, comparative advantage. My strength is my creativity, and the less time I spend using my creativity.
I don't know that I've heard that phrase, Ricardo's rule.
Well, Ricardo was one of the first economists to discuss this, and so he was the one that first talked about the whole idea of comparative advantage. If you're England and you can produce wool and you can produce port, and wool makes you more money,
got it?
Should you be buying your port from Spain? And the rule is like, yes, even though it's because maximum. And like me as a creative, the more time I spend being a creative, the better.
Yeah. Yes, but also, so in theory, art should not be a zero-sum game, but ultimately it is a zero-sum game because it comes down to humans' time. And that is a key insight that I think YouTube correctly sussed out a decade ago when they made the pivot from views to viewer minutes. Because every minute that you're paying attention to one thing, you're not paying attention to something else. So in many regards, yes, it's dumb to spend money to have a bunch of people in the Philippines make all your thumbnails and midwife all of the posts and all that stuff. That seems wasteful, but I think that's part of the performance, because it is a signal of your confidence in your art that you are betting your finite resources, a large percentage of it, to promote it. And whether you're betting with actual money resources or with credit resources or with your time resources. And in that regard, like for example, first the game for me was intuitively, and this is full disclosure for anybody who's watching Office Hours. Intuitively, I feel like YouTube is gonna have to solve for the abundance crisis, and whatever their solution is going to be human-centric, and the advantage is going to go to who is the most viewer minutes of human at the most time. And so that's part of the reason I've invested in the skills to be able to live stream and get better and better and better. But recently, you remember, I think it was in Homo Deus that Harari talked about the idea of dataism, the idea that almost religiously,
my least favorite pop commenter this day, but please go ahead.
Sure, that's fine. But unambiguously, I would have described myself 10 years ago as a dataist. I was a big fan of the idea that every time we did a Weird Things podcast, there was more of Brian and Andrewness out there, and eventually, that would live. But the problem with the dataist approach is, just like an email forward chain thing, send this to 5 people, you hit a critical threshold where in a matter of weeks, the only way to save all this data being created is to convert all the mass of planet Earth into solid state hard drives. And we're starting to bump into that. And as a result, you're seeing YouTube make massive changes in its algorithm that curate for recency. For example, right now, to be honest, like I'm very proud of the entire back catalog of both Modern Rogue and Scam School. But here, if I go to YouTube, just being a random person off the street, and by the way, quick reminder to everyone, if you go to YouTube in incognito mode, there is no front page of YouTube. All it cares about is, what are you interested in? So let's say you're interested in Scam School episode 3, Bang Your Head. So that's the correct title for the correct, like that is a fairly unambiguous description of the thing I'm looking for. And yet you'll notice this. First, you'll see a sponsored thing. Then you're going to see the live stream in which I talked about episode 3, Bang Your Head. Then you're going to see the live stream from literally today, this morning. And then you're going to see the live stream from another less congruent channel. And then you're going to find another live stream. Then you're going to find a recent episode of Scam School. And eventually, if you scroll down enough, you'll find episode 3 of Bang Your Head. But this is about as loud a press release as I can imagine of YouTube saying, "What have you done for me lately?" That's all that we're not here to be a library that goes back forever and ever and ever, because that can't be done.
Well, yeah, yes. And I think a couple things can be true too, is that I look for the newer thing. I look for the newest thing, and I look for recency, and I look for this, because part of the problem that happened too was that, the long tail, like, I mean, I would love for Anderson to revisit the long tail, because we have a lot more data on where it works and where it doesn't.
And where it falls off.
Yeah, exactly. The newt shed the tail. So you had companies that went in and bought the back catalog, back rights. They'll go to YouTube creators and they'll say, "Hey, listen, we want to buy your channel or whatever. We will pay you a fixed amount because we think we can optimize this better." Other people bought content. They went in there and they repurposed this stuff. So all of a sudden we'd see stuff come out that was repurposed, repackaged, or whatever. And it created a situation where, what YouTube realized is like, oh, people are happier when it's newer. If they see this, they saw this thing before or whatever, and I think that, they're pushing for more of that. I think and obviously it's signal you to create new, like, I think that, to the data thing, it's like, we only have our number of minutes per day to consume has not gone up. And
Right.
The number of humans is leveling off. And that's the world that YouTube functions in, other places function, is that, like, Facebook has to imagine better ways to give higher. They now have to give higher return to advertisers, because it's not just enough to sell the advertisers time. They have to show advertisers better grade by actually doing the thing they said they were doing 10 years ago they weren't, which was using AI and other methods to figure out what the consumers want. But they're all running against that wall, is that we got 24 hours in a day. That's the max time. And now as creators, we can just keep. I think about my list of things, all the things I want to watch. I'm like, I don't know when I'm going to be able to watch all this stuff. I went through my watch later list. Oh my God.
Well,
I declare bankruptcy.
Here's the comp that pops to mind when I think of that, is like a new TV show comes out. And I know I loved all the rest of Hacks up until this most recent season, and I got 2 episodes in, but one little thing, none of my friends happened to be watching Hacks at the time. So now, just like a book that I know is going to be delicious and I can't wait to do, it will have to meet that threshold of when my other friends are reading that book as well. And then I'll jump in on it and it's going to be great. And same thing with Fallout. I was slow to get into season 2 because I didn't have anyone else who was chomping at the bit to watch every episode alongside me. And I think that a lot of things can exist out of time and then need a little bit of a nudge to get into it.
Yeah, it's the biggest argument. You made the great argument too when people are like, "What happens in a world in AI when it can just create whatever you want?" I'm like, cool. I'd rather watch a bad movie with my friends than a mediocre one by myself.
Yep.
And just a thing that I think that's funny, because I think it becomes a very Silicon Valley sort of thing too, of like, well, we're just going to be plugged into our own little world. I'm like, I think you want that. I don't want that. I think that, people just sort of forget that, you know, um, we're not all the same.
Yeah, but there is one place where we are all the same, and that's where patreon.com/weird things. Sometimes people have a hard time finding our episodes of Weird Things. And I say, you know what? Sometimes we're really great about publishing on time. I'm not going to say that I can point to a particular time that maybe we forgot to publish entirely, but there's one group of people who have never missed a single episode, and they've gotten exclusive access to our super secret After Things program. And those are our patrons over at patreon.com/weird things. Thank you, patrons.
Oh, we do publish on time there. Plus, yeah, with the After Things thing. So it's interesting where this discussion of we had this thing of like literally a Facebook for AIs talking to each other and all that. And we're like, meh, it's a Wednesday story.
Well, it begins to almost become kind of a chemical layer where stochastically, like you've got a human on one end and a human on another end, and they're both going to do whatever their human thing is, right? Like right now, Brian's banging the drum about his security awareness training stuff, and I'm putting out content day after day talking about it. And somewhere in there, algorithmically, robots are listening to it, and then they're seeing the content. Like I'm certain, because I go live on LinkedIn, I'll wager I can watch my network of contacts expand authentically, organically in the LinkedIn space. And no, nobody sits down and watches me talk for an hour every morning, but they do swoop in just long enough to see me in the middle of deep faking another security awareness person or whatever. And soon all of those robots are going to be noticing what other people are noticing. And eventually, as is coming up on March 2nd, now's a good time to remind everybody to go to scampocalypse.com. That's where you can buy tickets to the workshop I'm doing with Perry Carpenter the day before Convene. We're doing an all-day workshop where you're going to learn how to do deepfakes, where you're going to learn deceptive role play practices so that, because guess what? The scams are going to get extremely polished and good, and it's only going to be people who have played the game who are going to be automatically protected. Anyway, stuff like that. The robot layer in between. Brian's going to do a bunch of Brian stuff. There's an unmet need in the universe over here. A bunch of people asking questions. The robots are going to kind of, they're going to act like those matchmakers, those party planners, where they're like, oh, do you know so-and-so? Oh my God, they'd be such a fit. And it'll feel like magic. But I think there will be, as strange as that synthetic layer of social networking sounds. I mean, to be honest, if I can get all the benefits of social networking without bothering to be social or network, that'd be great.
That kind of comes into the thing is like, I think about, I think you're like me. We have the switch, the introvert extrovert switch.
Yeah, which I didn't perceive that I had until I stood outside myself and said, yeah, but Brian, before one of your stage shows, you draw a very hot bath, you turn all the lights off, and you spend 45 full minutes essentially in a sensory deprivation tank so that when you show up for the gig, that's not the same person. I'm like, oh, good point, me.
Yeah, it's a pretty intense ritual there. I have a, what do I have? I got one of those spinning tops from Inception.
Yeah.
And when I was like really having trouble like focusing, I just picked that thing up and just like, okay, all right, just focus. But I can't find it, so I can't focus anymore. I'm doomed. I think that it's the pace of things is moving. In some ways, I say it's very slow. I say AI is an iceberg. We're like, oh, it's happening so fast. I'm like, really? GPT-3 was 2020. That was 6 years ago. 6 years ago, a half a decade. Like, yeah, but we didn't know. I'm like, okay, GPT-3, 2022, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, still a long time. And yes, you can keep having the conversation, if you want. And we hear the bubble thing. The bubble thing is hilarious because it's like, okay, Wall Street's gonna Wall Street. Wall Street can do anything they're gonna want. But when we when we like when they go, the internet bubble, like, oh, show me the point where the minutes spent per day on the internet cratered.
Yeah.
Never
Well,
happened.
and just like both the word, I'm adding bubble right next to the word AI, in that the moment I hear them, I'm like, reminder, before opening mouth, no two people are arguing about the same thing when they argue about AI or bubble. Like which part is a bubble? Do you mean the advertising sector? Do you mean people's overconfidence in the workforce? Do you mean the technology infrastructure? Do you mean the bandwidth? Do you mean the energy? It's like, which part? Can we have the same argument, please?
For a lot of people, they want to throw everything into that because they don't want to spend the cognitive effort to try to make sense of it or try to change. It's literally, there was like the Wisconsin government. Wisconsin governor like did a bill, like put into place like a bill to prevent AI data centers because it's a bubble. Like, okay,
right.
Are you going to bet your state treasury against this?
Indoor plumbing. It's a bubble.
Yeah. Again, it's like, there's going to be, and I think that's the thing for people often, because it causes anxiety to think about how fast things move. I'm in the middle of this, and I sometimes go, oh, wow, this is really fast. But the answer is not, well, everybody, let's just slow down. Like, no, that's just dumb. The answer is adapt.
Well, or just pick a subsection of a lane, because maybe look, everyone's at a different place at different times. Maybe right now isn't the best time to adapt. In that case, at the very least, become laser focused in what your part of your lane is, where you have no competition, and be thinking about what your next lane 10 years from now is going to be. If you're pretty sure that your job is going to be massively different, and if you are doing it, you're going to be doing a lot more of it, you're essentially in a management role for whatever it is, then start shopping for your gig 10 years from now. And I guess that's says the guy who just spent 18 months of introversion before he began to see this pressing need to help humans with robot generated fraud.
Yeah, but I mean, you're actively moving and looking into stuff. I think that my advice was just use the tools. Just use the tools. And people are like, because again, it's also really like, I get people like, it's slop. I'm like, tell me you don't know nothing about anything.
Well, and to be honest, and this is the difficult thing that's more nuanced than I wish people. It takes too many syllables to say what I'm about to say, and it makes me bummed because at a distance. You see AI things, you tune into the live stream, you see Brian making deep fakes, and you're like, oh, Brian, he loves AI. You're like, whoa. No, I love humans. I love humans so much that I understand it is my responsibility to know how to use AI so well that I can stop any other bad guys from using AI. So yes, we're going to get real mitts deep in all of this. Do I love it for getting power? No, I love being smarter than, forgive me, the dipshits who are trying to defraud good people. Which, of course, that's a lot of syllables that you have to say.
Well, but also it's like, hey, AI, like, do I love math? Yeah. Do I love applied math? Yes, I do. I think that's what it kind of gets to me. Is like, all the ways it's applied? No, not necessarily. Like, nuclear bombs used on, that'd be bad. That's applied math, though.
Yeah, well, I liked your comp of fire, and what the shortest version I can explain to people is like, fire good or fire bad? I don't know, but I know one thing for sure. Fire is being invented, and I care about one thing: having a front row seat to watch the invention of fire. And like, I am not going to stand in the back and talk about how I heard that fire was not going to be as good as it was anticipated, or hear bombastic tales of what fire might be. I'm like, I just want a front row seat. That's all I care about.
Yeah. It's all how it's deployed. So anyhow, welcome to issue number 1988, where Andy and Brian are like, hey, learn how to use AI. It's cool.
Yeah. But, and even, you know what? I'll also argue the counterfactual: learn AI, because if it's very uncool, then you need to be the hero who knows, like, learn about Terminators so that you could be Kyle Reese.
Yeah, I just think that people are going to then see Terminators everywhere, which is the problem I've had. Is that,
well, I forget that, yeah. you probably have to hear about it a little bit
I
more.
periodically walk into an office where people stand out, unhinged people stand outside with, you know, signboards and stuff, who got disowned earlier in the day by the group they're with because he was even too unhinged for those unhinged people.
Oof.
But yeah, yeah, I think that it's a that we're tool users. The more we understand the tools, the better. And it is often comfort. Like we talk, and you know, we heard the term copium used a lot. Like a lot of times, it just there are people offering copium, like, well, they can't do this, it's this, and we keep see the things become more and more capable. But they are not human. These are not replacements for people. And I think that's my issue with people getting too deep into anthropomorphizing these systems, is that you can fall into that trap where you start to see this as a threat or something else because our predator sense picks up like, this gives off like, no, it is math running on a processor somewhere. And yes, it can, you know, get convoluted, and you can we have corporations and religions and entities and stuff that have been perpetuated and continue on, which is a model for what can happen to AI, but we also have wonderful institutions too.
Yeah. It's amazing how much of society runs on very necessary fictions. Like even even the intelligence parts of artificial intelligence. It's, you know, this it's all statistical mathematical correlations, black boxes on black boxes. But anyway,
Yeah.
have you seen anything good? You got any picks?
I one Fallout has been great. You know, I have enjoyed that a lot. Fallout's been a really fun, surprising show for me. Delightful for that.
Can
But
I tell you my favorite? I'll be curious what your favorite
I'm
part of
not up to
season
date.
2 has been. What's that?
I'm an episode or so behind though.
No, but that's fine. Just thematically.
Yeah. Um, I just like kind of the quirkiness of where it goes. You know, like the child factory. You
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
you know, it's just this. Oh wow, that's you know,
Well,
you
and
have characters pop up and
I like the fact that they walk you up to an edge and they're like, yeah, but if I mean you came this far, it's the Homer Simpson thing. It's like, well, that's too stupid. Homer wouldn't do that. I'd be like, well, he did do blank, and so you just go farther and farther out there. Uh, for my money, seeing Kyle McLachlan, whatever,
Tom McLaughlin.
McLaughlin, McLaughlin. I never know how to say it. Anyway,
Kyle McLaughlin.
the first season we had to watch him pretend to be a good guy before the heel turn. Just watching him as a mustache twirling, scene chewing bad guy trying to be the best can do bad guy he can, just the best. I love it.
Yeah, he's great. Now we see him too. Um, we saw him as the confident, nice, likable dad. Then we saw him as the uber villain, and then we also saw and this is the one time flashbacks have worked for me.
Hmm.
You know, we see him as the sniveling, you know, guy trying to achieve whatever. It's kind of neat. It's like, hey, it's a really good role for him. Like I hate flashbacks. Like I really, really do. Like I am not looking forward to the next season of Pluribus because I'm going to get, you know, I didn't get enough plot this one, and I don't look forward to, um, you know, that's my fear is that I'm going to get the season 2. We need to know more about how we got here.
Oh,
No, I don't. I gotta say something.
oh, I was gonna say a big anchor for me changing or liking flashbacks happened when I read the Gentleman Bastard series, The Lies of Locke Lamora. In the first book, about halfway through the book, a guy kills a couple of gang members, and you're like, oh, well, that kind of sucks. And the main character really hates it. But then every book after that, fully half the book happens in the forward going time, and then the other half is the before time stories. So by the end of the third book, you know that these characters, you fall in love with these characters after you know how they met their end, and so you become, you know, post hoc enraged on behalf of Locke Lamora and stuff. So I don't know. I don't mind it as much as you, but maybe
Well,
that's
no, I
just a
mind
really good
the
example of it
TV.
working.
No, it's a problem in TV because what happens is often they only have a certain amount of plot, and they use it as a way to extend the plot. I think when it's done right, Fallout, I think it's done great because this is a very interesting before time thing. We saw that at its worst, like in Lost, where oh, we've got through the, oh, nope, you're not healed yet. And it's like the worst therapist in the world. And I see that too, like Heroes season 2, Heroes season 2 or other stuff where you're like, oh, this is a cool, oh no, this is a whole season. So that's my issue, is that a lot of times it becomes this thing where we're going to give you this flashback. We're like, we don't need that. You told us everything we need to know about the character and the thing. And anyhow, two things. One, I am a fan of Rhea Seehorn. I thought she's great in Pluribus, so I went back and I never made it through Better Call Saul. Forgot that's
Ooh,
where
how
she
fun!
first started working. So going back, watching her there, I think she's great in there. I the other night, I'm like, I was just looking for something to watch. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to watch Dune 2 again, and watch Dune 2 again, and it's great. So
Okay,
you know what
good.
I did next?
What?
You know what I did next?
Yeah, please tell me you went and watched
go back and
the David Lynch Dune.
No. I'm not gonna do that. Or I actually have the Sci-Fi Channel one on DVD, by the way, that one too. And
Dune the play.
But and Dune Messiah and whatnot there. But no, so I watched Dune 2, and I said, you know what? It's good. You know what I should do? I'm gonna go watch Dune 1 again. Went back, watched Dune 1. You know what I said?
Great.
I'm gonna go watch Dune 2 again. I've never, ever done that. And I am easily bored. I enjoy, even though I just watched it like 2 days before. I'm like, this is really great. This was really good to go watch the second one, then go watch the first one to kind of see the setup to what happened there. Then go back and watch the second one again. And Denis Villeneuve, goddamn, he's good. Goddamn, he's good. You're
Yes.
going through, watching his shots, watching how he revealed the thing. We don't meet Fade until halfway into the story, but he comes in, and it was the right amount of time for him for the role that he needed to play. There was Denis Villeneuve and Jonathan Spates are the guys who wrote the screenplay for that. Really economical, tackling on. I mean, I'm a big Dune fan. Dune is my Lord of the Rings, and it had to be hard to say, like, Space Guild navigators are really cool and Mentats are neat, but we're not even you'll mention the guild. That's it. You don't need to know that's how they get around or what this means. You know that spice is important. We got a weird calculator guy, looks up, does the math. You get it. We don't need to go into that anymore. As much as the nerd would like, I'd like to see that explored. And then then the problem is you go like, man, I want more Dune. And you're like, oh, Dune Prophecy. Yep, I made it into episode 2 and realized this is complete garbage, and walked away.
Dude, Wonder Man. You saw the trailer, right?
But yeah, you're looking forward to it.
I watched the first 10 minutes. Can I thematically tell you where the first 10 minutes go? Sure. It reminded me a lot. The first 10 minutes, our actor, main character is an actor. Did you enjoy Ricky Gervais in Extras?
Yes.
Then you're going to enjoy Wonder Man quite a bit. I cannot wait to dive into Wonder Man. It's great.
Extras was great because Gervais had figured out how to take the pathos of David, from The Office, then reel that back into a relatable guy who still says,
steps in it,
kind of like Seinfeld. Yeah, kind of like Seinfeld, but he's a bit of a jerk, but he's a real person. He's a real person and not a cartoon. So I look forward to it. Yeah, I like the whole where have I seen him for? I think he was a terrorist.
Yeah.
In the trailer.
It was fun. It was fun to watch Josie watch the trailer for it, because she had very clearly gotten sucked in the first 45 seconds, and then sees the Marvel Studios logo come up, and I see kind of this full body double take, like, what? This is a Marvel thing? And I'm like, right? It's anyway, I'm very excited about it.
Yeah. I'm there's a lot of opportunity to do cool things there. So
well, cool, man.
Awesome, bro. It's been weird.
Nailed it. I have other obligations I can push around. Do you want to punt on after things or jump right in?
Say that again.
It looks like both of us are having the real world try real hard to grab us. Do we want to punt on after things, or do we want to jump in and do it?
I guess if we're okay with when was the last time we did one?
Last week. We just published one today.
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Okay. All right, cool. Well then,
Cool.
everybody watching on the live stream, as soon as we're done here, I'm going to tee up today's brand new Modern Rogue episode for premiere. Make sure to join us in about 2 hours around 5 o'clock. I might set it for 6. I'm not sure. I have to make sure that the version I'm seeing is the final version. So, but tonight we're going to do a premiere. Make sure to join us. It's a really good one. It's the premiere of my daughter as a main character on the Modern Rogue. It's really fun. All right. We'll see you guys. Bye. There we go. Oh no. There we go. Bye.